In life, there are many questions that go unanswered, like, do you really need motivation to randomly start wearing a kilt? Of your Samuel L. Jackson, you absolutely do not. Especially not when you're trying to peddle drugs to everyone in Manchester. It's time to prove that this flick isn't Breaking Bad, because Formula 51 is not that bad. Welcome to this edition of It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies. And once again, back on the show, my wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing today?
I'm great, and I'm back.
That's because you just woke up from a nap. You're good. To our listeners, right? No, it's right there. Full disclaimer: my lovely wife, had about a 2-hour nap before we started recording, so I'm kind of jelly.
What you sucking up for?
I want a nap. I want a nap. We want naps. We want our naps now.
Come to my house.
Go to my house, take naps. But what we are not napping on is the movie we're talking about today, and that is Formula 51, or for some people, this is The 51st State, because this film has 2 titles. Now, Carrie, you are a fan of one Mr. Samuel L. Jackson. So when we were going through his filmography and we realized that this movie qualified for the show, your initial reaction was... Wow.
Okay. Yes. Huge Sam Jackson fan. Even bigger fan of Formula 51. As much as I love my man, Sam Jackson, bad motherfucker.
We're going to swear a lot in this show. So initial apologies to our children who occasionally listens to the show, and every time they hear a beep, our oldest looks at us and goes, "Did you guys swear again?" We're like, yeah, we did.
The swear police will be out in full force on this one.
Kids, just hit stop right now. Go back and listen to the Smurfs episode. All right, that's a little bit safer for you. Even though we say Smurf a lot in that one, though. And we know that Smurf is, Smurf is kind of like the frack from Battlestar Galactica. You know what they're saying. They're just not saying it, but they're saying it.
It works for all, but here we're talking about something else that's tiny and blue. The pills.
Ooh, nice.
The pills.
But before we get into this movie, it is time to take Formula 51 and trailerize it. The recipe for Formula 51. A simple mix of one badass chemist named Elmo looking to tickle your drug fancy, a hooligan with a heart of gold, an assassin who can go from murderous to sweet in less than 51 seconds, and an inept crime boss who talks about himself in the third person so much you wonder if there isn't a real crime boss somewhere else waiting to pop up. Add in all the Guy Ritchie cast-off characters you can, and the heartwarming lesson that drugs are apparently cool. And you have a recipe for success. Samuel L. Jackson stars in Formula 51, or the 51st State, or whatever they're calling it now. Rated R. We have to clarify that when this movie originally came out, it was called The 51st State in the UK. But they changed the name to Formula 51 for the US audience and for the North American audience because 51st State doesn't kind of go over too well in America. But either way, we are talking about one hell of a film starring Samuel L. Jackson, Emily Mortimer, who you might remember from Mary Poppins Returns, or the voice of Holly Shiftwell in Cars 2, Robert Carlyle, Meatloaf, and I'm going to apologize in advance if I mess up this name, but Rhys Ifans.
Just call him Daddy Lovegood.
No, we don't call anyone Daddy. No, we don't call anyone Daddy on this podcast. No, and no. Unless our kids are on, they can call me Daddy, and those are the only people who get away with calling anyone on this show Daddy.
Papa Lovegood?
I'm down with that. Also, Papa Lovegood sounds like a discarded Motley Crue song. So it was directed by Ronnie Yu. And if you're not as familiar with his filmography as a director, all you have to do is go watch The Bride of Chucky or Freddy versus Jason. And I don't know about you, I actually really enjoyed Freddy versus Jason. It just brought so much fun to both those franchises. It was a fresh take on it, and they had been waiting. That film had gone through so much developmental hell in order to be able to get to be made. Ronnie Yu handled that, I think, very perfectly. However, this was almost not directed by Ronnie Yu, because this movie was supposed to be the directorial debut of one Mr. Tim Roth. He was supposed to be in the director's chair for this one, but that didn't happen. Instead, we got Ronnie Yu, and I think he handled it very, very well. It was written by, you're still in shock.
Oh, now I am curious. I would have loved to have seen
Tim Roth
that would have
directed
looked like.
Formula 51.
Ooh.
You're picturing it now, too. You're picturing him in the chair. Yeah.
I want to visit that alternate universe one day.
In the multiverse of cinema, at some point, Tim Roth actually directed this film.
So which of the 51 states
or multiverses? That is
the Tim Roth directed.
That is when you hit your pants level. Tim Roth, which, yes, this movie did hit that. It was written by a guy by the name of Stel Pavlou. Now, I do apologize if I mess up these names, but as I've mentioned before on the show, I am an idiot in a basement with a microphone, so you get what you get. You get what you pay for.
Okay, but mad respect to the screenplay.
Right. Here's the thing, though. This is his only film that he's written. The only other work of video that he has actually written was a DVD extra for this movie, and it was entitled, and I'm literally reading this, Who the Hell is Stel Pavlou? So if all you've written for film is this movie and a mini doc called Who the Hell Are You? He has written books before and all that, but interestingly enough, he wrote this in 1994 while he was working at a liquor store. It's almost like the ultimate Tarantino kind of storyline.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Now, I wonder what he was selling in the back of the liquor store in order to be able to come up with this script. But regardless of, it was a really, really good script. But it's the only screenplay that he's actually written. And there's a long history to this, because this film apparently took 5 years to get the funding to actually make it. So it was written in 94. Started to getting notice and whatnot, and start to get people pushing it in 95, 96. So around that Train Spotting, Tarantino rise to prominence kind of era. But then you got to wait 5 years to get the funding. So this movie came out in 2001. So when you think that from 1994 back of a liquor store to 2001 on your cinema screens, that's how long this film took.
Now I want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know the backstory. I want to know how he came about getting this script, which, by the way, did I not mention last night? Mad props to the screenplay, because it is so clever. It is so well done, and the twists and the turns are so smart and well plotted. And even though the characters seem a little daft at times,
some do, yes.
Oh my God, it's brilliant. It's brilliantly daft, and I absolutely love it. And again, I want to know more. I want to know how, because he must have at some point connected with Tim Roth to have got him interested on board. I want to be a fly on the wall in, that time frame and find out just, I want to read the liner notes. I want...
Now to put this also into perspective and to blow your mind again.
I want more.
You want more blowing of your mind?
Bring it.
Okay, more blowing. Here it comes. So Ronnie Yu hasn't directed much since this film. a couple things here and there, but nothing major. Although apparently he was supposed to be the one to direct Snakes on a Plane. You almost had the Formula 51 director helping Samuel L. Jackson deal with these snakes on the plane.
Well, that could have only helped that movie.
Oh, there was so much that needed to help that movie.
But this one is not that bad. I mean, please, I plead to the internet world out there, if you have not given this movie its due time, watch it, okay? Continue listening to this podcast, but then please do yourself a favor, do me a favor, watch this movie.
Now, I am going to say, because this film is, as of recording this podcast, 21 years old since the time it was released, not since the time it was written. Sorry, Stel Pavlou, we're not counting those years. 21 years since it's released. We are going to spoil it. So if you are going to watch this film, hit pause, like right now.
And come back after you've watched the movie.
And welcome back to the show. Hey, hope you enjoyed the film. Now let's talk about the film now that we can spoil it for you.
The film who must not be spoiled.
Oh my God, it's the Voldemort of films.
I'm dropping Harry Potter references. Oh yes, I am.
Well, thanks to Rhys Ifans.
I know.
Right?
Mind officially blown on that one.
But here's the thing, though. This film did not do that well at the box office. It had a $27 million budget, but it only grossed $12.8 million worldwide. Now, to put that into perspective of everything else that was that was going on at the time. So this was released in theaters October 18th, 2002. So apologies on the 2001, but 2002. So it was released, and it debuted in the North American domestic box office at 12th with a $2.8 million gross. Debuting that week was The Ring at $15 million. So not that, really, I mean, yes, we are talking $2002 here, but The Ring debuted at number 1. In number 4, just to put this into perspective, in its 27th week of release was My Big Fat Greek Wedding. But other releases that came out, the movie Abandon came out and debuted at number 7. And of course, Formula 51. Now, that's North America. In the UK, very different story. So on opening weekend in the UK, which was December 7th, 2001, so it took a while to get to North America, it debuted at number 2 that week, behind the 4th week of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, with a 1.3 million take in the UK.
Two very different movies.
Very, very different movies. To put it in perspective of how old this film is, in number 9 in the UK that week was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Speaking of drug movies. But
and you know what? That's what I wanted to say, because as much as I'm sitting here loving this film, and I do, and okay, I admit we have the VHS copy. Yes, friends, the VHS copy is actually in our possession. However, you can still find it on FilmRise. It is available. You know what? I think there's a YouTube version of the full movie.
There's ways to watch this movie.
There are ways to watch this movie. But where I'm going with that is it a theatrical release movie? Is it a take your date to the movie?
If you're taking your date to this movie, I guarantee you. Well, okay.
Not a cinema flick.
Let's put it this way. If you take a date, like a first date to this film, and you get a second date, bravo, you found a keeper. That's all I'm going to say
and
on
I'm
that one.
sitting here thinking that would have been an amazing first date movie.
Because bravo, I got a keeper. Thank you kindly. But the critics do not agree. So let me do the breakdown here. The tomatometer is at a 26% with an audience score of 59. At Metacritic, it's 23%. And at IMDb, 6.3 out of 10. So the people like it. The viewers like it. The critics don't. And we talked about this in the past. Is this movie something a critic should watch, really? Let's be honest.
You know what? It depends on the critic. It depends on a certain open-mindedness to, I mean, yeah, okay, at its core, it is a drug movie. Mm-hmm. It's a drug movie. There are scenes, and even the style in which it's shot is kind of in that vein of hallucinogenic, almost like, good trip, bad trip.
You might need some Red Bulls while you're watching this.
Okay, but it's clever. It's fun. It's well written. It's funny. It is funny. Like the actors did a brilliant job delivering this screenplay.
I want to talk about the screenplay. Before we get to the breakdown,
yes.
I want to talk about the screenplay because as we were watching this, I was acutely aware of our swear word hating children and thinking we might have to turn the volume down because it's a little sweary.
Okay, hate is a harsh word. Dislike, yes.
No. The oldest one hates it. He hates a swear word. Okay.
Disapproving, yes.
Yeah. If you ever wondered what your own disapproving looks like, as a parent, swear on air and then have your kid listen to it and then look at you going, you said it again, didn't you?
To be fair, I watched this movie with the children in the house on mute with my earbuds in.
Yeah. So you did the smart thing. And I bring this up because this movie holds a place in history. Because currently, this movie is tied for 85th for most F-bombs dropped in a film ever.
Did you grab my Sam Jackson book, my unauthorized?
No. But however, apparently the F word was dropped in this film 180 times. That ties it with Bad Santa 2.
Can I just say, though, that, okay, we're sitting here, we're doing the F-bomb count, but it's not crass.
No.
And the use of the word in, yes, that's probably going to be picked. The use of the word is almost as common to the dialogue as
to oxygen
as
at this point.
As saying the.
It's a George Carlin lesson in script writing, basically.
It is, but it's so. You know what? That wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even feel that it was a much sweary movie.
That's because you got trucker mouth there, girl. But I want to put it into perspective, though, because a lot of comparisons are rightfully so made to the movies of Guy Ritchie and Quentin Tarantino, and you can see those influences in this. But just for perspective, apparently Reservoir Dogs has 269 drops of said word, and Pulp Fiction had 265. But while I was doing some research, I was fascinated to learn that there was a study done on profanity on film, and Samuel L. Jackson does not hold the record for most F-bombs in a film.
What?
He is third on the list.
Ooh, who's number one?
I'll tell you number two is Leonardo DiCaprio.
What?
And number one is Jonah Hill.
I possibly could have seen Russell Brand up there.
No. And now, admittedly, those two got to this spot thanks to one film, The Wolf of Wall Street, which actually holds the record for most swears in a single film. Like, they literally Like, rather than breathe air, they breathe. Like, that is literally what they do.
Huh.
But funny enough, though, that this study went even further in that Samuel L. Jackson, on a swears per 1,000 words of script, and I would have loved to watch these people like do this study, swears per 1,000 words of dialogue, Samuel L. Jackson sits 8th.
Okay, he has clearly done his research, my friends.
That means that puts him behind Harvey Keitel on the list and just ahead of Ashton Kutcher. And swears per 1,000 words. Jonah Hill, king of the F-bomb, 22.9 swears per 1,000 words of dialogue. Samuel L. Jackson, 6.9. Math, ladies and gentlemen, math. Now, I'm sure that's probably changing over the time. And if you think about it too, Samuel L. Jackson probably had some clawback on that ratio thanks to the Avengers films because, he got blipped before he could actually swear in Infinity War. So, I mean, that's just not fair.
And Star Wars just would not be the same if he was dropping F-bombs.
Right? I'm tired of these mother Sith in the mother palace. That's the Star Wars we need.
Okay, but he did win on his purple lightsaber.
Yes.
You were at a whole new level when you get the purple lightsaber.
I can hear like Venom in the back of my mind going, "That is a purple one." So let's get to the breakdown of Formula 51 here. We got to start with Samuel L. Jackson. I'm going to put this to you. How is Sam J in this one?
Oh my God, I love him. Love him. Like, as I was mentioning before we started recording, everything from his facial expressions after he delivers a line to like he just looked like he was having so much fun with this. Mm-hmm. Like, you could tell that this had to have been a fun movie to make. Pretty expensive, I would say. Like, but they do a little bit of damage. I
mean, if we're doing a damage count, which might be someone else's podcast, I'm sure somewhere down the road. But the thing is, Samuel L. Jackson, I think, takes a lot of projects, based on his passion for the script. And, when we kind of saw that with the stories that came out about, Snakes in a Plane, how, he wasn't going to do the movie unless it was actually called Snakes on a Plane. And I get the feeling that this movie kind of fits that mold because he just had so much fun. You're right. It's just, here he is walking around with golf clubs and a kilt. Why? Fuck you. That's why. That's literally. Exactly.
The costuming, right? I mean, even when they show a young Elmo McElroy. Sorry. Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
When they show a young Elmo McElroy, like.
You were tickled pink, weren't you?
Oh my God. In what? The 60s at that point? It would have been.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Brilliant.
But it's definitely a Samuel L. Jackson role. And I do wonder how much of that was written, with him in mind. And that's with a lot of these characters, it felt like it was written with the specific actor in mind. Like, I don't know if anyone else could pull off this role as iconically as Samuel L. Jackson did. And I realize saying icon about a cult classic film that didn't really do well at the box office, and some people didn't even know existed until probably this podcast. But it's one of those things where you put anyone else in a kilt running around trying to sell drugs, it could come off as kitschy or just weird. But for some reason, and the fact that, yes, other people made a thing of it, but he never did until the mid-credit scene. And then, the fact that as they're going into the credits, no one ever knew why he wore the kilt. Like, exactly. That's the point. Mm-hmm. Everyone else was like, white, nice dress, right? It's a kilt, first of all, but it was just there with no explanation, yet no explanation was needed. And I think that's the beauty part of it.
Yeah, I don't think Sam Jackson ever has to answer for anything, but it was a brilliant choice. Much in line with even the Tarantino movie realm is that I found the music choices, the choice of music, the songs that they picked really helped carry the scenes. They just were so perfect. It was just, and it's not even like the music carried the scene. It was like the scene just melded with the music.
I will say, and I was going to save this point for later, but since we're on this topic right now, I will say that, the fact that this film, the script was written in 94, and we mentioned that's, rise of Tarantino era, beginning of Guy Ritchie, coming to the public notice with his work and all that. And then it took some time to, get the financing and get this onto the screens. It felt to me like a 1996 film, but was released in 2001. Did it feel that way to you? Did it feel, like you were, when you watch this film, does it feel like something that should have been in the 90s to you?
You know what? I don't know. I didn't have that feeling. I don't feel that it was date stamped at all. What I do want to say about this movie, though, is the caliber of the actors. I mean, not bad if this is a one-off for the screenwriter and
one of the few North American films that Ronnie Yu directed.
Right, directorial debut? No, not
debut.
No, but again, the caliber of the acting in this movie, the lineup of actors that they got on board, everything was just so perfect. And I think time wise, yes, it might have been a little maybe late. Maybe it missed its mark. Maybe it would have been better received if it were mid 90s and during that Tarantino,
because there were a lot of films around that 96, 97 era that really stood out. I mean, like that's, that is the Train Spotting era. That is the Reservoir Dogs and, Pulp Fiction era. That is the, the Very Bad Things era. Like that era of films
was really dark.
Exactly. What was wrong with us in the 90s? Oh yeah, grunge.
Right? Yes.
I mean, grunge was good, but we were getting into the boy band phase, afterwards. And that's the funny thing too. Like you mentioned the soundtrack, it's a very electronica trip hop kind of soundtrack, which again, to me kind of felt that way around like that 94 to 96, 97 era of CDs that were coming out. So it's definitely a movie of the time that it was written, but I don't know if it was a movie of the time that was released. And I think had it gotten the funding sooner, it might have done better, not just in the critics' eyes, because, if the critics are coming at this saying, well, this movie's 5 years too late, they're already jaded going into it. But it would have gotten more eyes. It definitely felt like a mid to late 90s film as opposed to 2001. But, we're hedging years, even though a lot can change in cinema in a couple of years, like just a tenor of films.
It's a really interesting point that it wasn't on my radar and it didn't feel like this movie was time stamped in any way. But then again, if you look at my movie collection, like it's caring movie.
It's on VHS.
It's on VHS.
That timestamps it already.
Yeah.
It's 7 movies for 7 days at the Blockbuster. All right. Captain Marvel just crashed through the roof of the Blockbuster. Yeah, I did. I went there.
I kind of feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, if you were ever at a Blockbuster Video on a Friday night, we got to get there at 5 o'clock before everyone steals all the good new releases.
And I think maybe that's the key, is that this would have definitely been one of my go-to movies for renting. If I needed that 7th, this would be my 7th. I would throw it in every damn
This
town.
would have been your first, and everything else fills out the 7. Like in the Justice League of 7 movies in 7 days, this is the Superman, right? Very Bad Things might be, the Batman. Throw in some other darker kind of, maybe a Reservoir Dogs or a Pulp Fiction is the Wonder Woman. And then maybe someone's weird stand-up comedy special. That's freaking Aquaman. That's your 7 movies for 7 days. Now there's a Twitter thing right there. If you're doing a 7 movie 7 days, but you're equaling them to the Justice League 7, which movie is your Superman in 7 movies for 7 days at the Blockbuster?
Ooh, good question.
That is a very good question. Now, I'm gonna put that one on Twitter. I want seriously, think about it. Put yourself in that mid to late 90s, early 2000 era when Blockbuster was the right. You got to pick 7 movies, right, and you kind of rank them by superheroes. First of all, Aquaman is number 7. I'm sorry.
Now, I have a question about the rules and regulations.
Aquaman a fish.
Okay. Now, are these movies of the time released within 95 to 2002, or are they like overall movies?
I will give you a 2005 cutoff. Anything before 2005 does not qualify. So it's got to be before 2005. Right, because that's pretty much like the death knell of Blockbuster right there. Like 2005, it started to go downhill, right? Because no one went to Blockbuster after 2005, except for like that one down in the States that's still there, if it's still there. Let's get back to the breakdown though. Robert Carlyle, Mr. Felix de Souza. I really, really enjoyed him in this. This was another one of those situations where the character really felt like it was written based on the actor who actually played the role. How was Robert Carlyle to you?
He was absolutely perfect. I loved him. I loved him so much. He was absolutely brilliant. He didn't give a shit. Oh my God. You know what? In this role, I could not have seen anyone else play that character. Mm-hmm. He was pivotal. He had to be there. He was brilliant.
And to be able to have a good back and forth with Samuel L. Jackson, like in a movie where those two characters have zero given, in a movie that's giving clearly 180 we counted. I was counting, right? But, he brings that, nothing's going to face him. All he wants to do is go to the Liverpool game.
Just get to the game.
Just get to the game. Just wants tickets to the game. That's all he cares about. Doesn't matter that, he could be cut in on a $20 million deal. Doesn't matter that, the love of his life just put a bullet in his ass. Doesn't matter, right? That all this crap is going on, that his car is totaled. He's driving a smoke spewing jalopy. He's, watching some American in a kilt, driving golf balls off the garbage scow that they're stuck on because they just, escaped like near death. Like so much going on. I just want to go to the game. I just need tickets to the game. Like, again, it's Liverpool, Manchester United, so I understand it. I do. I understand. However, right, it's just he brought so much to that role, and again, I wouldn't be surprised if it was written based on him because he was in Trainspotting, and Trainspotting came out in 1994, if my math is correct. So if you think that came out in 94, and the script was written in 1994, it makes sense that it might have been influenced by Robert Carlyle, at least that character influenced by Robert Carlyle from Trainspotting, because it almost feels like a continuation of that character, and still based on drugs.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't see any other actor playing that character. And I think what I love about him, about his delivery, is he's just so carefree. I mean, bad happening around him, and he just wants to get to the game, and he's so funny, but unintentionally funny. It's not like he'll deliver a line and wait for the laugh. No, it's like deliver the line and move on. But just in how he played it was so funny for such a bad guy. A bad guy, good guy. He's, he just wants to go to the game.
Just wants to go to the game. Just wants to go watch Liverpool.
Yeah.
He was definitely tailor-made for that character, or that character was tailor-made for him. But I'm curious, and I want to jump over to Meatloaf in this one, the lizard. Ronnie Yu had called the casting of him inspired.
Oh?
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about Meatloaf in this. By the way, rest in peace, Meatloaf. But
yeah, I love you, man.
Yeah, he is a very, very good actor, but there was just something missing, and it's not him. Maybe it's the character. Maybe it's the fact that it was written in a way that, his character talks in the third person through the whole damn movie, right? Like, why? His character has these scars on his face. Why? Like, there's so much that we need to know about the lizard, but it's not there. He's just almost like this, generic problem that's chasing Elmo around. Is it the script or is it me?
I think it's you. I think it's you because I am here to defend the lizard.
You are here to defend the lizard.
The lizard is my king. He is the lizard king. Let's hear him sing. He would do anything for love.
But not that.
No,
he would not talk about himself in the third person. That's what that is.
Okay. I really, really liked him. I liked that I think everything that you're saying about his delivery, I almost enjoyed more. He did seem to be a bit bumbling, right? For, a hardcore hitman mafioso, like what he was like. He was the leader.
There was a quirkiness to him, though.
There was,
right? Like they're trying to steal my Elmo,
and it kept it light.
Like I didn't know if he needed to be more crazy because of the way some of the dialogue was written. Maybe some of the dialogue needed to be changed.
The fact that
Meatloaf is a phenomenal actor, and keep in mind this is 2 years after Fight Club came out, where he gave, arguably a scene-stealing performance in that.
He was low-key crazy. He was low-key crazy, and I think that was perfect. The fact that he was addressing himself in the third person, and that was how he spoke, that really made sense to me, to the role. I think it was all necessary, and he delivered it beautifully.
Maybe it's because, and here's I think the comparison point, right? If the lizard is a little off the wall, a little crazy, a little maniacal, a little bit of, dangerous, right? He doesn't feel that way in comparison to Rhys Ifans in this, who is way over the top, who is way like Icky is that kind of character that's just so manic and maniacal, and it's almost like I wanted that out of the lizard.
No,
but you can't have that going up against each other.
Okay, here's the thing, right? With the lizard, I think portraying that he's kind of towing down the middle line, right? He can either go crazy and just fly off the wall and kill McElroy, or that turning moment where he's like, no, I want him alive. Even about wiping the slate clean, right? It's like, I think the people around him are genuinely scared because he can fly off so quickly, or I think he has like a genuine. I don't know if those around him find him to be a pushover, and that's why they're following suit or if they're scared for their life. Like, because he has quite a large, he has a large cartel. Mm-hmm. You know, he has a large following.
Well, had until they got blown up.
Well, okay. Yeah. Spoilers.
Might I moot an idea with you?
Moot away.
Allow me to moot an idea here. Take Meatloaf and Rhys Ifans in this and their delivery of these characters. Now, picture it with those roles swapped. And, and Meatloaf is Icky with the delivery that he gave to the Lizard, and Rhys Ifans is the Lizard with the delivery that he gave to Icky.
Nope.
Eh?
No. See, again, no. I think
just no.
Just no.
Your idea is moot.
The lizard had to be more down the line, right? Because you never know which side he's gonna favor, right? He's either going to go crazy and half-cocked and kill them all, or, you know, no, like he may just let you live if, you know, if you step out of line and go up against him. I think that was really pivotal. It was really important to Emily Mortimer's character.
Emily Mortimer was wonderful in this, but before we get to her, okay, I do need to point this out, and it needs to be said because it's just one of those, like, you know, like those fascinating little quinkydinks you find sometimes in movies. So in this movie with Rhys Ifans, Meatloaf plays the Lizard. In The Amazing Spider-Man, Rhys Ifans plays Dr. Kirk Connors, who becomes the Lizard. That is literally like 1 degree of separation to a Spider-Man villain at that point. So he goes from starting with the Lizard to being the Lizard. Now let's get to Emily Mortimer. You're like, yeah, okay, that's nice, geek boy. Let's move on to Emily Mortimer.
But not the same Lizard.
No, not the same Lizard. It just happens to be, you know, Meatloaf's character is named the Lizard, and then Rhys Ifans goes into a movie where his character is the Lizard, which is an entirely different character. Just same name. No, you know, Meatloaf is not changing into an actual lizard in this.
No.
He has both his arms. Well, till the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll let you guys all watch that. Well, you
the
already
movie.
watched it. You paused the podcast and you came back to us. You already know what happened, right? And if you didn't, go ahead, pause now. And welcome back to the show. I'm so glad you enjoyed the movie. Yeah, we went there again. Emily Mortimer. There was just something so... She really played the duality of this character so well, because she isn't like a cold-blooded killer, yet she is a cold-blooded killer. Yet she still has feelings for Felix, yet she will shoot Felix in the ass if he gets in her way. Like, there's so much duality to her, but she didn't feel overplayed. Like, Rhys Ifans was very much over the top. Meatloaf could have been more over the top, but you think he was perfect in the role. Emily Mortimer was almost like she was the adult in the room of everyone, right? And I think she was great in this.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, you know, her story too, that she just wanted to get out of it. Mm-hmm. She wanted freedom, and this would be technically her last job. You know, honoring her debts to the Lizard. Oh my God. You know what? She was brilliant, and she really, you know, even I love the scene with her and D'Souza's mom. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was so good.
Right? That was so good. That was so good, because there was that turnabout where you could tell that even, you know, the mom, as much as she tried to, you know, play the M&M card and the hard exterior shell, she really did like her to the core. Yeah. You know, and
because she is a sweet girl on the inside, even though she will straight up stone cold kill you.
Well, I mean, she's good at what she does.
Right? She doesn't miss.
She shouldn't be faulted for that. If you're going to be, you know, a hit man or woman, you want to be good at your job, because your life might just depend on it.
No one hires the hitman.
Right.
Although that being said, I now want to write a script called The Hitman.
Oh, wait, wasn't that The Bodyguard?
Maybe. Also starring Samuel L. Jackson, but not in a kilt.
But this movie is not that bad.
It's not that bad.
And and Emily Mortimer played an amazing role in this.
It's almost an inspired choice to put her in this as well, because when you think about the movies that were coming out around that time that she was in, you had Love's Labor's Lost, The Kid that had Bruce Willis in it, and Lovely and Amazing. So these are more heartfelt, rom-commy kind of, sappy type films. And then to jump into this role, like if you think in 2001, I need a badass, sexy assassin. Who are you casting in 2001? Emily Mortimer may not have been on the top of the list. 2001 was probably like Angelina Jolie. But I don't know if I could picture anyone else doing as well as she did this role. She
was able to deliver the accent, I think, for the role that was absolutely perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
I mean, it is, I think at the heart of it, it is kind of a comedy. And Emily Mortimer, like in some of the things that she's been in, like if you ever watched her in 30 Rock, she was hilarious in that. It's not an action film. It's very much a, darker, not dark, but, darker themed, darker world kind of comedy. But she was brilliant. And I hate to say it, the fact that it was out in 2001 meant that we got Emily Mortimer in this role. If this came out in 96, 97, maybe she's not in it. Interesting, thought process on that one. I have to bring up Blowfish. Not Hootie. Blowfish. Stephen Walters, the main skinhead in this. There was just something so punchably likable about this character, because he got the crap end of everything in this, but it was just such an over the top, needed to have his he needed to be told in this film a few times, and it was just so funny every time he was on the screen. Every time he was on the screen, it was a laugh. Although I will admit, I felt bad for him and his cronies during the did they just eat Taco Bell scene. It's, if you can mentally smell the crap that was coming out of them, it wouldn't have been good. Okay,
but in that scene, I think the monkeys stole
oh my
show.
God, yes, absolutely.
The look on the monkey's face. You know what? I think, can I just put a star honorable mention VIP to the animal trainers who worked with the monkeys? Because it was so good.
Let's get to Ronnie Yu on this one here, the director. There were a lot of cuts and speed ramps in this film that really did, again, kind of feel like a movie of the times, like that kind of reality bites go kind of film. Did that throw you off at all when you were watching this?
No, I think style-wise, this movie was perfect with the way it was shot. Those little cutaway scenes really added to, and again, maybe it was, very akin to the time, the Train Spotting vibe. Another movie that popped into my mind was Boondock Saints, and just how it's really the little extras that's thrown in that make the movie, that make the scene.
Which, for the record, and we discovered this while we were watching Formula 51, Boondock Saints, judging by the tomatometer, actually qualifies for an episode on this podcast. So we will eventually be bringing the Boondock Saints to this show. Not actually on this show, although that would be fascinating. I would love to have an actor from a movie that we're talking about come on and actually, talk about the movie themselves and get that kind of inside experience. Maybe somewhere down the road we'll get that experience, which would just be phenomenal.
Dear Mr. Samuel L. Jackson.
Kilt optional. Come on down and, we'll talk Formula 51. And that's one of the things too. Like when you think about these smaller movies, and in the grand scheme of, Samuel L. Jackson's filmography, this is arguably a smaller movie. But these are the movies I think that maybe I'm wrong on this one, but actors seem to have more fun on these smaller passion projects than when dealing with, big budget King Kong level type films, because there's just so many moving pieces attached to a movie like a King Kong or an Avengers. Here, I think you're right. I think it felt like, people, actors and crew and director having fun with the film.
Absolutely. I think there's a scene that Robert Carlyle goes into, just a pub. Mm-hmm. He makes a stop by the pub and
in Manchester, no less. He's a Liverpool fan.
Yeah. You know what? It's that kind of genuine fun that I think makes this movie so likable.
Which, if you don't understand why a Liverpool fan going into a Manchester United fan, into a factory pub, right? All you have to do is look up the show Football Factories and just see the depth of soccer hooliganism. Like that's a bold move right there. And I think that's probably also too maybe why the film didn't play so well on this side of the Atlantic. Like we saw, it debuted at number 2 in the UK. That makes sense. Here, there's a lot of UK references, and I don't know if that necessarily played out for a North American audience. I mean, we love it, but we also have a little bit of British in our background.
I think though, script-wise, it was funny because Felix was so hating of everything American in everything he said in the dialogue, even before he met up with McElroy. Like he hated everything that was outside of his neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the end, though, I have to put it out here, right? Going back to the tomatometer in this one, or even the Metacritic score, like if someone told you after watching this film that only around 25% of the critics actually liked this film, what would your response be?
The critics are wrong yet again. This movie, you know what? Again, is it everyone's cup of tea? No. And I can absolutely respect that.
No, them.
maybe it is a bit of a niche audience. I don't know. I love this movie so much that I can't possibly, taking aside the fact that I love Tarantino movies, I loved Trainspotting and Full Monty, and I love movies.
And you have a copy of Go, which I think also kind of is up there as well as far as comparison pieces go.
Boondock Saints. Mm-hmm. I do love those movies, and that's kind of my jam, right? Maybe I wouldn't be so passionate if I were defending The Lord of the Rings. No disrespect, but but this is my jam. So let me go with this. So I can appreciate that not everyone sees and enjoys that style of movie the way I do. Mm-hmm. I get it. They're wrong. It's cool. But, we'll move on. Live and let live. However, all joking aside, even just to watch this movie, to sit down, put all expectations aside, it has a spot-on cast, right? Each one of the actors, there is not a single actor that I'm sitting there like, meh, that could have been recast. I think so-and-so could have played it better. No, there's none of that. It's fun. If you just suspend belief for the 2 hours that you can sit and enjoy this movie, enjoy the humor in the dialogue, the presentation of the dialogue, right? The actors are having fun with their roles. Like, how could you not enjoy it as well and just jump on the ride and enjoy? And, you know, like, is it realistic? Is it plausible? Probably not. I mean, you know what? Just enjoy it for what it is. Take it lightly, because they sure as ain't taking it seriously. And yeah, and just have fun with it. It's a fun movie.
It is time. So, Carrie, who is your MVP of Formula 51?
Okay, I have to say that we did not give Rhys Ifans his due credit. And he is, without a doubt, I am so sorry, Mr. Jackson. I have to give full props. My MVP is Icky. He was, oh wow, he was brilliant. He is so great. He's so great in that role. And actually, funny enough, it wasn't until I was flipping through to see what else he's been in and realized he was the loft mate in Notting Hill. And where he came out with the scuba gear. You know, that is the role fit for him. Like, to be the completely way out there, way off the...
So Rhys Ifans is your MVP.
He is my MVP.
I will admit, I was tossing this one up. And for a bit, I was going to say Emily Mortimer. But then I had to change my mind. She still gets honorable mention in this one.
She was good.
She was very good. But she was no Robert Carlyle. Felix de Souza. There's just... In a movie where you have Rhys Ifans jumping up and down on chairs and Samuel L. Jackson running around Manchester in a kilt, Robert Carlyle is the one that made this movie for me. He was so perfect for the movie, perfect for the role, perfect for the scene, perfect for the time. Like, there could be no other person that could pull this off, stand toe to toe with Samuel L. Jackson in this role, and just the movie benefits from him and his presence and his performance in every single way.
You know who was good as well was his partner in crime,
the guy who had like the chemist killed,
the baddie, who
didn't make it past the shooting, right?
But I thought he was really good too.
He was disqualified. He didn't have enough screen time. Right. So that is Formula 51 for all of you. Now, first of all, Carrie, thank you for joining me on this one again. This has been always so much fun. And to you, the listeners, if there is a movie that you think is unfairly maligned, or you think is just so bad that there is no way that we can come up with anything good to say about it, hit us up on Twitter at NotThatBadCast. Thank you so much for listening to this show, wherever you get your podcast. This is It's Not That Bad. Until next time, I'm Jay. She's Carrie. Take care.
Hey folks, Stefan Shirazi and Renee Richardson here from the Metallica Report.
And we are proud members of the Pantheon podcast family, where the best of music and podcasts unite.
We've got something pretty cool for you. We're giving away an exclusive Metallica merch package worth over $250.
That's a whole lot of Scary Guys, skulls, M72, and other sought-after Metallica swag. And we've made it easy for you to win. Follow and share the Metallica Report, and you're in the game. Go to pantheonpodcast.com/Metallica, enter your email, and hit that button to be entered to win.
And just like that, you're eligible for our monthly exclusive Metallica merch package.
And guess what, rockers? You can enter every month. So just do it. And while we love our global brothers and sisters, the lawyers won't let us ship outside the U.S.